Building a great B2B go-to-market engine starts with understanding what works and evolving it. I'm your host, Rob Carroll, and this is a go-to-market perspective, where marketing and sales leaders share how they're transforming their organizations, foundational best practices, smart trade-offs, and practical AI delivering value and scale today. Building a marketing organization from 0 to 1 has always been one of the hardest jobs in B2B. You're establishing credibility before you have proof points, defining a category before the market understands it, and generating pipeline before you have a team. AI can accelerate a lot of that, but only if the person holding the wheel actually knows where they're going. Today, I'm sitting down with Jakki Geiger, CMO of Arango, to explore how she's using AI as a genuine force multiplier at the earliest and most critical stages of building a modern B2B marketing org, from brand and messaging to demand gen, competitive intelligence, and executive thought leadership. Jakki, welcome.
Thank you, Rob. Good to see you again.
I'm so happy to have you here. And why don't you just introduce yourself, explain a little bit about your background and what you're currently doing with Arango?
So yes, as you said, I'm a CMO at Arango. I've been here 6 months. And the reason I joined the company is because they're going through a transformation. They saw the opportunity in AI and thought this was an opportunity for growth and transformation. And that's really what I'm attracted to. So I've been a CMO at a number of different companies, and that's usually what I look for. They're looking for transformational change and growth, not incremental. And then, of course, as you know, Rob, you and I worked together at Informatica, which underwent quite a significant transformation from an on-prem company that was selling perpetual licenses to a subscription-based business that was selling cloud solutions. So that's the type of work that energizes me.
Yeah, and they weren't necessarily 0 to 1, but they were 0 in terms of cloud and subscription to 1. So in terms of truly redefining their business model, and a lot of organizations that have been around a while have had to go through a similar journey.
Absolutely. And there was urgency to do it quickly, right? There was a private equity acquisition. We went off the public market. And the goal was, how do we build up the value of that company so we can go back on the public market? So that's the kind of, there's a driver, there's a critical date that you need to hit. And it's like a lot of excitement to try to help the company get the growth that they need.
In the episode title, in my intro, we really talk about 0 to 1, but let's get your definition of what do you mean when you talk about taking a marketing org from 0 to 1? What is that transformation looking like?
Yeah. So, I don't want to give the impression that Arango had zero revenue when I came in the door. That was not it at all. But we were really transforming the business. The company was around for 10 years, very well established in the graph technology business. And then they got a new chief product officer and technology officer who came on board from JP Chase. And he looked at what we had and said, oh my goodness, this is the data foundation I would have loved to have had at JP Chase when we're trying to build AI agents for the company. So he put together a roadmap and a development team to really focus on becoming the data platform of choice for AI and build what we're calling the contextual data layer. So once the board saw that, they were excited about this transformation. They wanted to make sure that they had the sales and the marketing power to bring this company to another level of growth. And so that's why I say ground zero, because when I joined, we were repositioning the company. Mm-hmm. We needed to completely rebrand the company, new website from scratch. And when I've come in to do this at other organizations, it was a 9-month process. Guess how long I had to do new positioning, new branding, and new website launch?
I'm afraid to ask.
Yeah, 2 months, 60 days. We had to, because we were showing up at the NVIDIA conference and wanted to do a soft launch of our product. So there was a critical deadline, and it was just me. There were a couple people I inherited on the team, but they weren't true marketers. They were borrowed people from other parts of the organization to help just keep some sustainable effort going. So without AI and an incredibly trusted agency that I'd worked with in the past, who I knew would be like more of a partner to me, that like almost like my own team rather than an external agency, I would never have been successful. And of course, our CEO and chief product officer were 100% dedicated to turning things around quickly, reviewing things. Without all that, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, it's obviously having leadership alignment has got to be so critical. And I think it's interesting. It's an interesting conversation, because going from 0 to 1 truly as a startup that maybe has their first few customers and is first beginning to scale, like Arango 10 years ago, dealing with building out a marketing org that's a transformed business with a new business model, maybe a new technology, maybe a new product market fit that's been defined. it's very much a lot of the same decisions have to be made about what is marketing going to be accountable for that next transformation? Who do you need on your team to help get you there? And what are your earliest goals and objectives? So I'll ask you before we even get into the AI piece, which is obviously something I want to talk about because that's a lot of the how you get there done more quickly and effectively. With the transformation that was underway, what was your key responsibility as CMO? What was the mandate for those first 2 to 3 months?
Well, ultimately, it's revenue, right, Rob? So when I came in, I think the best, I like your theme of 0 to 1, because if I think about it and how it applies to Orango's business, zero is the amount of revenue we've been producing from the new product vision, right? Like we were going to do a preview 2 months later, but we had no revenue yet from that new AI offering. And so my job is to come in and build market awareness that we are now solving a major problem. We call it the Frankenstack, right? Don't build a Frankenstack and build all these different databases together. You need a contextual data platform. And that's what we have to offer, right? Because in the early generation of new technology, that's what people do. They hand stitch things, they craft it themselves. Mm-hmm. Totally normal. But we need to say, is that really what you want to do? So we had to make sure that we had the right positioning and messaging, problem identification, describing our solution in a way that was specific enough to attract the people that we wanted to get as customers. So brand awareness to the right target accounts, to the right personas within our existing customer base. Like that's the beauty, Rob, of joining a company that's been in business 10 years is you have hopefully most businesses have a happy customer base. Luckily we did, right? We had 200 customers. They didn't know at all about our new vision and roadmap, right? So making sure that they were aware, because there's a lot of opportunities for us to have customer expansion, and they can get even more value from Orango if they upgrade to this new agentic AI suite. So that's a portion of it. There's the expansion revenue goal. And then there's also the new logo goal, which is, of course, you and I know, much harder, right? Companies who have never heard of us before, they don't already have an experience using our technology, having them see that we can help them on this journey to agentic AI with this unified, current, trusted business context that they're trying to handcraft themselves. So for me, it's all about the revenue, and therefore we back into pipeline, therefore engagement, therefore brand awareness to the right people. Because as you know, at companies this big, you don't really have, or I should say this small, you don't have unlimited marketing funds. And it's not like I can build a team of 20, right? Like I have 3 people on my team, and that's what I'll have for the remainder of this year. So we have to be very smart and laser-like focused on who we're targeting and what we're using to drive awareness, engagement, and pipeline.
Yeah, and you bring up like such a great challenge with the size and scale that you are and the number of people you have, that you have to create 2 distinct messages, one for existing customers that don't know about your transformation and are they going to come along for the ride. There's a very different message from people that have never heard of you before that you're trying to attract for as a new logo. So it's a lot of different messages and a lot of different enablement, I'm sure, aligning up to the same brand message, but different messages for different audiences. So it's that much more work.
It is, absolutely. And then you bring up a really critical piece, which we haven't talked about yet, is enablement. So we also hired a brand new sales leader, and he's hired a whole new sales team, right? Mm-hmm. It's not, not only do we have this new product and need to drive pipeline and revenue, but we have a whole new sales team with a different selling motion. So the company was basically converting open source technology to enterprise accounts before, right? Like small size ASPs. As you and I know, I love going after big deal sizes, selling to enterprise accounts, senior leaders who want to actually get promoted or have a big impact in the organization because they're making a transformational change themselves. So that excites me. And that's the kind of team we had to build here, but they need enablement. Right. And this space is moving so fast. Like by the hour, things are changing. So it's definitely been exciting and very fast paced.
I'm going to ask a question about the AI mandate, and it's going to be a 2-frame question because there's 2 sides of that AI coin. There's the AI message you need to get out to market because you're building an AI solution, as well as the mandate across your organization to leverage AI to scale and grow without having to add extra headcount and program dollars. So maybe you could talk a little bit about both. Kind of what is the, I'm calling it an AI mandate. It might not be that strict, but what's your AI strategy at Orango, and what have you done to kind of incorporate that on both angles?
Absolutely. So I will start with the marketing component of it. what I wanted to do when I came in is figure out, how do I make AI a force multiplier for myself, right? Because I was really I had a couple people on my team. Of course, they weren't marketers. They didn't have a marketing background. They didn't understand marketing. They had never done it before. So they were not really delivering marketing programs necessarily. So what I did is I came in and I decided there were a couple things I'm going to need. I'm going to need to create a digital twin for myself, create a digital twin for our CEO, because we had decided to move forward with Forbes Tech Council as thought leadership investment. And I wanted to make sure that we could produce really high quality content without needing a content strategist and a content marketing team. We also did the same thing for our chief product and technology officer. And we continue to invest in those digital twins, right? It's not just a one and done, like, oh, we put in the content, we got the writing style guide, tone of voice. It's a continuous updating process. I think with any AI technology, you never set it and forget it. It requires human intervention on a regular basis, right? So you want to manage it, you want to evaluate it, you want to continue to improve it. So I started just using, simply ChatGPT. I love Lise Adams. She is an incredible inspiration to me. She posts all the time on innovative ways to use AI. So that's how I learned how to build a digital twin that actually could have a business impact for me. And so that's where I started. I hired someone who has had experience having AI SDRs. So these are, instead of, you could hire a team of outbounders, or now you can use AI to do emails and LinkedIn as well as dials to target personas within your target accounts. So we're experimenting. We just launched one and then we had some success. So now we've actually got 5 running. And then, of course, on our website, right? I don't know if you remember the days of chatbots where you had to do all the business rules and configuration yourself. Well, now there's great companies out there like Qualified and OneMind where it's AI driven, and you can engage with customers, book a meeting immediately. There's none of that, like, I'll give you my contact information and you'll follow up with me in a week and we'll set up a meeting a month later. It's that instant gratification that everyone's looking for. And we're feeding that AI agent all the content they need so that they can successfully engage with prospects.
It's exciting. It's fun. On my website that I just launched, my chatbot is my digital twin. And I've trained it on all of my articles and every time I have a podcast, I upload the transcript so you can ask it anything about what happened in the podcast or how do I recommend this? And it knows all my services. So how did you train your digital twins? What type of content, like, especially for your CEO and your chief product officer, for example, like what content were you able to get together to train it to know it's their tone of voice, to know their style, and to know their expertise?
Yeah, so I'll use the CEO as an example. So for him, what I did is I started recording some of our calls together, taking a few relevant webinars where we just executed and we had the content. I created a writing style guide and voice for him based on best practices, and then reviewed it with him to make sure it was all aligned with what he wanted. Then we started adding his blogs, articles. So every time we have a Forbes article that gets published, it goes right back into the digital twin as part of the knowledge base. So anything you can find that is transcript, PowerPoint presentation or slides, anything that's been written before, those are all the things I upload. Our messaging, positioning, customer stories, that's all really valuable content as well.
Yeah, that's perfect. It may sound intimidating, but this day and age, to your point, there's a lot of vendors that do it for you very easily, and it's very approachable to have yourself to talk to.
Yeah.
What other types of AI processes have you been piloting or have you started getting value from?
Yeah, so we're piloting a technology, pretty early technology called Ziply. One of the things that attracted me to this is, social media, LinkedIn is so critical today to connect with the right buyers and the right companies. And so, when I joined, we had about 10,000 followers that were not really engaged. The company employees weren't doing a lot to amplify our presence. We weren't where we needed to be. I originally got Ziply because they have a broader value proposition, but I'm using it to ensure that we can have not only company posts, but I'm able to post on behalf of our CEO, chief product officer, head of sales, and others. And it automatically reacts, and it just creates a lot more amplification than we could get by, hey, everyone, please send out a post this week. I've been down that road as well, and it's not really productive. So that's one piece of it, generating the content, helping us create the text like the LinkedIn copy, but also distributing it and reacting to it and helping you create comments. That is also what it does. But the most exciting piece, which we're just tapping into now, is you import your messaging pillars, and then you can create blog content, ebook content, web page content, news releases, you name it. It'll produce it for you, FAQs. So another major value that we get from using a technology like Ziply that we're expecting to get, we're just beginning to scratch the surface of, is to show up well when people are using Gemini, ChatGPT, or Claude, or their LLM of choice to get answers, right? Buyers are now using those vehicles more than Google and Bing in some cases. So we want to make sure that we're showing up well. So this technology allows us to understand, what are those questions that buyers are asking? Are we even showing up? Are our competitors showing up? And then let's make sure we're making a conscious effort that we're optimizing not only for SEO anymore, but also for answer engine optimization.
Where in these new processes is human judgment still input? Like, how do you validate that what it's putting out isn't just on message, but maybe is going to break through the noise, is going to be provocative and encourage feedback? Because obviously that's one of the risks of AI is, I just called it in my last article, a risk of the sea of sameness, because everyone's using a lot of the same AI tools to create similar messages in similar markets to similar audiences. So what's your current, we'll call it governance or just review process to just make sure that you think it's fit for public consumption?
Yeah, so I think for me, AI is mission critical today for any marketer in an organization. However, just to give you an idea of my process and my team's process, we don't just, input all this digital twin content, say, here's the topic, and then whatever it gives us is what we use, right? For me, Rob, I would say, like, I used to spend 4 hours doing blogs. Now I spend an hour. So I'm still iterating back and forth. I don't like the way this is written. This doesn't sound like us. Like, you actually, for me, it's more of a thought partner in creating the best content possible. You could even test it. I love to do these tricks, and some people already know about them and others don't. So I'll share them, but I'll say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this in the eyes of an enterprise architect, like or an AI ML engineering head?
Right.
Right? And why? Tell me the rationale. I like to ask for the rationale. What's missing? What's redundant? What doesn't need to be in here? What would they be looking for that's not here already? So that's a question I like to ask. I also make sure that in my digital twin, I make sure it doesn't just try to please me. I want it to challenge me, right? So I think just making sure that there's an iterative process, that there's a lot of human input actually to get it to where you want it. Because, there's certain quality standards I expect. I don't want someone to look at it and go, this is AI slop.
Right. And kind of the same goes for your SDR process automation, I imagine, because you don't want customer outreach to be generic.
No, and we'll quickly know, right? Like, if the AI SDRs are effective, they might actually get a response. Someone might want a meeting. Someone might engage with something they said. And if we're not getting that level of engagement, we need to look at it and say, why not? What are we missing? So it's similar to, like, in an email campaign. If you're sending an email and you got not as many opens as you did last time, you have to look at it. So that's why I say it's not a set it and forget it. It's absolutely, it is helping you be more productive and getting more done. But you must be involved, almost like you would be with an employee. You wouldn't just set it and forget it and let them run and never check on what they're doing, right? And validate that they're focused on the right things and they're prioritizing the right things. Same thing with AI.
My last article I wrote was really talking about the need for experience with AI. It's like AI without experience is risky and not going to deliver value, but the ability to have experienced marketers that have judgment and know what to ask the AI and know how to validate by asking the right questions. It's like it's guiding it to get to the right answer, even though it's doing most of the work. I had asked Claude, how would you describe agentic AI in marketing to the layman? And they said, well, imagine AI as an intern who's doing a whole bunch of tasks for you. You give them a goal and they go do a bunch of tasks and they come back and there's a result. But then I added, just like an intern, probably they've never done it before and they probably need some direction throughout as well.
Yes, exactly. And that's where that context comes in, right? Like, if you don't give it enough context. So there's a great prompting trick that I learned from Ali. She's one of the big AI gurus out there. She's teaching classes on Maven and things, but she uses the wiser technique, right? So who is this for? What are the instructions? S is for subtasks, right? E is an example. Show me an example of the type of output you're looking for. And then R, review, 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 right? So WISER is an acronym I like to use. And I think providing those examples is really helpful in getting you closer to the better output on day one versus needing to iterate more.
Good advice and a useful acronym to boot. So where do you think you're going to be investing in both marketing staff and more importantly in AI tools next? Like where do you think you're going to point AI to help scale for your next stage?
Yeah, it's a great question because there's so much technology. Like I used to think before AI, like there were 8,000 different technology companies targeting marketing as a function, right? So there's a sea of options out there, of opportunities out there. And now it's like double with AI.
Right.
So, and a lot of them are starting out. It's not like these are proven best practices, lots of case studies. So, sometimes you're taking a gamble on new technology. Right now we're really happy with experimenting on the content marketing front. It's like low stakes, right? On the social media front, it's low stakes. We're also doing some work where we were building agents for product marketing. I think that's a big opportunity as well. Competitive intelligence, not only like what are our competitors doing, announcing news, new product capabilities, customer wins, things like that, but then how do we position against that? How do we enable the sales team more effectively with AI? Can we provide sales with AI coaching? One of the other areas where we've started seeing some good results is Notebook LM. So we take all the transcripts and content from every customer and prospect engagement. So the whole team has visibility. Imagine, you're doing the handoff to customer success after you've closed the deal. It's like, well, what information can you share me about what they're hoping to achieve, what we showed them in the POV? It's all available. And you can just use natural language and say, tell me, what was the business outcome they're looking for? Why did they buy our solution? What is their use case? Who is the champion? When do they need the results by? Is there a critical event? I mean, you can just ask and the answers will appear. And it also helps you generate customer facing material a lot faster than we could on our own. So to me, that's been quite a game changer for the sales organization.
How about on the demand side of things? We mentioned SDRs is obviously is a part of that, and a little bit of social. You mentioned as well from a content standpoint. Are there any things you've started experimenting in with AI helping to automate or guide in terms of marketing mix, in terms of investment strategy, in terms of just any other investments on the demand side?
Yes, on the demand gen side, it's been largely helping us identify where does our target market spend time? Where can we reach our buyers? What's the best place to go in terms of, like, for example, we're evaluating events that we want to attend, or we want to evaluate potential third-party webinars, content syndication. So we're using it more to inform, like, what are the options that are out there, narrow the field, and then begin doing our research and using it for a lot of research around that as well.
That sounds great. Where do you feel is I'll call it the last frontier, but more specifically, where do you feel you're not ready to trust AI or to overly rely on AI from a marketing leadership perspective?
Yeah, I'd say there's two areas. So the one I mentioned, that I had a trusted agency that really helped me achieve these incredibly ambitious goals of 60-day launch, right? So I still feel like the creative that's coming out of my agency is better than anything I could produce on my own using AI. I also think the copywriting is stronger from them than anything I'm producing from AI. So for that, I think on the creative side, for me, AI is not quite there yet. In a pinch, can it help create some graphics, some low stakes visuals? Absolutely. But if it's some kind of like higher stakes type of deliverable, I'm still really focused on getting that from my agency and creative team. There is a second area, Rob, that we were investigating where we could actually produce a whole bunch of videos pretty quickly and easily using avatars. So, imagine yourself drafting a presentation. You'd load it in and it would create almost like a human person is delivering it, but it's an avatar delivering the content. And I was thinking, wow, we really need to augment the amount of video content we have, the presentations explaining our value proposition on YouTube. Could that be a good avenue? And then I decided, what? The authenticity of our brand is really important. Using the expertise of our people and people seeing the experts deliver the message, to me, was more important than the volume and quantity goals that I had. So I'm willing to sacrifice speed and quantity for making sure that every asset that we do deliver in terms of video content on our YouTube channel and on our website feels authentically like Orango.
Right. No, that's a really good important point is just because it can be genericized in terms of who's giving the message, what is your brand identity? What are you trying to promote? And if you're trying to promote that it's an AI company run by people,
Yeah.
then there's risk. In a prior episode, I was speaking with Amanda Wilson, who was using AI to accelerate how quickly she can create product feature demos. At the branded level, it might be a different type of video, but when their pace of accelerated releases and they just want to be able to show customers how to do something or leverage some capability,
Mhm.
then that makes sense because maybe you don't need that spokesperson. So it's like different content for different purposes.
Mhm.
That's the long tail of content, right? You just have so much of it and have to keep up with the pace of innovation. Maybe that's the place to use that versus any branded explainers or webinars or, certainly corporate level.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're bringing up a good point is you have a portfolio of deliverables you need to produce. And I think you need to be selective about where are you going to 100% rely on AI? Where are you going to partner with AI to deliver something? And what are the things that you still want to keep because you actually enjoy doing it yourself, right? So I think there's a mix.
Even like from a blog strategy, I imagine quite a bit of the content you're creating in a blog may be catching up to make sure that the LLMs are finding you. So a lot of the blog's purpose is not necessarily because it's the most valuable, intriguing, interesting topic, but because it's a topic
Yeah.
that your customers look for and you want to be in that conversation, but it might not be the thing that hits your hero banner on your homepage because it's an old topic, but you're not being found with that topic anymore. So there's this balance you have to do in terms of content strategy around forward thinking, innovative, cutting through the noise versus we're part of the conversation. How do you balance that?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question that came up recently because I love doing FAQ style blogs, right? So I'll interview our chief product officer and then we'll turn that video interview transcript into a blog. And then I was doing some research and found that's actually not the best for answer engine optimization results. It's better if it's structured slightly differently and there's an FAQ at the bottom. So I was like, okay, I should shift my strategy for this blog in particular because the goal is it answers a question our buyers are asking versus a purely thought leadership piece where I'm okay with an FAQ style blog that we're going to feature and send in a newsletter and things like that. More engaging to have an interview style, but for the search engines, it's not the best choice.
Right. So you have to kind of balance who's your audience? Is it the LLM or is it the actual person that may eventually read it?
Well, and you bring up a really good point, Rob. At what point are we going to be marketing to agents?
You could argue from an SEO standpoint that we've changed. And, you could say SEO maybe was providing a service and that if these are the keywords people use most often, let's speak the language that they're using, that the intent was good. But you kind of lost differentiation in that process
Yeah.
because the words they're looking for might not be the thing that you're standing out with. So there's still that tug of war, I feel, in content versus we want to be findable, but we want to be different.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think that's the marketing challenge, right? We want to what is the buyer language? What is the language they use to describe their problem? How do we then show up, become discoverable to the people who have that problem, but then quickly talk to them in a way that like this is how we uniquely solve the problem. I think that's where the differentiation comes in. It's how do we solve the problem? But I don't care about, I want to make sure I'm describing the problem in the language of the buyer.
Right. And that's a really good distinction. And I'd love to, so we're talking a lot about how marketing leaders of these either growing or transforming businesses are being asked to do more with less, figure out how to create efficiencies and to hit those revenue targets with AI in new ways. How do you, as a marketing leader, and how do you educate other marketing leaders that may be in earlier stages of trying to accomplish this, educate leadership, the board, the CEO and founder, on what are the metrics that matter? around this transformation? Because I think they're hearing a lot of noise. I think founders are hearing from their investors and boards about things that they're hearing at conferences or they're reading on LinkedIn themselves. And what's the noise versus what's the actual metrics that matter to transforming and growing a marketing org to actually support the business?
Yeah, so I am all about the revenue, right? If we don't hit the revenue target by the end of the year, none of us are going to be successful. So it's a company goal first, right? What's that revenue number? And then it's what is the pipeline number that I need to contribute, that me and my team need to contribute in order for us to be able to hit that number. So I am not really measuring AI effectiveness, AI impact on productivity. We're trying to lower our cost of customer acquisition just like everybody else is, right? And that's the metric the board cares about. Did you hit the revenue target, and what's your CAC, right? And are you hitting all the other metrics? Maybe, there's some other really key metrics like net retention and, churn metrics and, rule of 40 and things like that. So I think at the board and executive level, that's what I like to focus on. And then within my team, I'd love to know, hey, what used to take me 4 hours now takes me 2. So I could run this other program or start this other initiative. Like that to me is a win when we do talk about that as a team. And for the sales team as well, wow, it used to take me 4 hours to prepare for a customer meeting. Now I'm down to 1. That means I can do a lot more of these, right? Or our solution engineering team being able to do POVs much faster. So I think those are interesting stats for us to share internally, but at the board executive level, we don't really talk through that very much.
And it sounds like you're in a good place that's allowing you to focus on business impact as opposed to AI impact.
Yeah.
The what is AI transformation, not the how. And I'm like, no. If the what is, I want you to build a demand strategy that's modern AI. And I'm like, what does that mean? Aren't you just trying to hit your targets? And aren't you trying to be able to do as much as you can with the budget and the headcount that's available to you? The how shouldn't be as interesting to you if you're a CRO or a CEO or a board.
Yeah.
But I think we're in this circle of uncertainty where they're afraid not to ask for the AI metrics in case they are required to defend it. So it's an interesting time we're in.
Yeah, and I think like there's a lot of gray right now, Rob. Like if my CEO said like, what is the perfect ratio of marketing human to AI? Right? There's this joke internally. It's a 1-to-5 ratio because Steve is managing 5 AI SDRs. So that's the ratio. I don't know what that right ratio is to, I don't know yet. Like as we grow the company and as we have more demand for marketing programs because we have higher pipeline targets, I'm going to need to hire more humans. It's not just going to be like, well, we just keep augmenting everyone with more AI tools, right? Because again, those 5 AI SDRs require management.
And who's going to guide and train and improve these things if you don't have a person that knows that things are in need of improvement?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
yeah, I agree. I think it's an interesting time from that perspective too.
Yeah, and just to continuing talking about metrics, I think another one is like, for example, we have an AI SDR on our website, Avery. It's an AI SDR. It doesn't matter if it's human or AI. How many meetings is that AI SDR booking? That's a metric that matters. How about those outbound AI SDRs? Are they doing a good job bringing those D leads to C level, to B level, to A level, to, okay, now they want to meet with us, right? Like, what's the success rate of that? We would manage them just like we would a human being. We want to see performance. We want to see results, right? So it's not that it's an AI outcome. It's an outcome, again, towards a business goal that happens to be driven by an AI investment. So the X amount we spent on Avery, is it a good return on investment versus a human being, right?
What are some of your early results are you seeing compared to the human only SDR path? Are you seeing improvements? Are you seeing it's about the same, but it's much less expensive? Or, I'm curious what that journey's looked like so far.
I think you need to look at like, how are we doing it before? One of the biggest challenges was trying to find an account manager who is available within 20 seconds to engage with a prospect who's on our website. Mm-hmm. That's really hard to do because you don't have them, they might be in a customer meeting and don't have the bandwidth to jump on and engage with somebody right away. Also, the only option was fill out a form. And then the waiting game starts, right? Speed to lead is critical. So for us, it's been advantageous because AI SDR on the website immediately is there asking, how can I help you? Are you looking for a case study? Are you looking for product information? Are you just looking for customer support? Let me know how I can help. So immediate engagement. Second thing, you want to book a meeting, calendar comes up. It has all the AEs availability already built into the calendar. So the prospect and on the website can just book a meeting immediately at a time that's convenient for them. So they get instant gratification, better visitor experience. And then, we don't have to worry about the back and forth. Oh, that date doesn't work. Does this date work? And we go back and forth and a month passes before that meeting takes place.
That makes perfect sense. So let's talk a little bit about two things. First, I want to ask about you've gotten from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
You've now built out a marketing set of processes and team members that are able to sustain the business where it is today. But now, next stage, 1 to N, is your scale up.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think in this day and age with AI and our current budgets for marketing, which are continuing to shrink? It seems like they've been shrinking for decades. Where do you think the people investments are going to be most critical in the next few years as you're going from early transformation or startup to scale up?
I would say I'll just kind of give you how I thought about my org and what was important to my business as I brought in the team I've got today. So for me, I was doing product marketing when I joined, right? Because we needed positioning and messaging. So that was a high priority. We were rethinking the business, needing new way to position ourselves in a very crowded market. I mean, who doesn't have an AI data platform today, right? So how is ours unique and different? What do we deliver that nobody else can? So I was doing that product marketing role. So I thought I really need to hire someone so I can get out of the product marketing at midnight role, right? And do more of the CMO type of work. So product marketing to me is absolutely critical. I think product marketing can be very much augmented with AI. As I mentioned, it can help with competitive intelligence, market research. You can create a customer advisory board. If you have good information about your existing customers, how they think, transcripts of conversations, you can build a customer advisory board and do messaging validation, content creation, digital twin creation. So I think there's a lot that can be wrapped around product marketing to make one person way more effective than they could before. Second piece, I was like, I need a growth marketer. I need someone who can come in, build out a pipeline model that aligns with the revenue model, put in the ABM programs and the other demand gen and marketing programs we need to be successful. Someone who can build the dashboards, making sure that the leads are being handed off, SLAs are being followed up. So to me, there's a lot that can be automated there and can be improved through AI. Like we started with the AI SDR investment. We're building a dashboard so they can bring the data together with AI instead of having to manually reconcile spreadsheets, which we all know and love, right? And then I hired a demand gen manager, someone who could actually execute some of the programs. And we're already thinking creatively about like, how can we augment her with more AI capabilities so that she can double or triple her capacity and have more global reach. Those were the key roles that I hired out of the gate. Of course, I had an agency. So if I didn't have an agency, creative is critical. The amount of creative we produce and copywriting and web updates and, an agency was an absolutely critical hire. Now they use a lot of AI as well to help boost their productivity and get things done a lot faster as well. So those are the roles I have today. My next big question is, do we hire a PR firm? Do we hire someone in-house to manage PR? Because we do want to boost brand awareness. I think customer marketing, how do we get more case studies? How do we engage with our customers? Customer advisory board, customer summit, someone who's really responsible in marketing for customers. Developer relations, that's another way I'm thinking, right? So these are some of the additional roles that I have in mind as we grow and scale the company.
Makes sense. And, and obviously I love, the way you're thinking is you need quarterbacks for specific disciplines who can then leverage AI to be their team, so you may not be having to hire multiple product marketers or multiple program managers or whatnot, but you do need the expert that knows what to build.
Yeah.
Right? So that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I like your analogy. It's a quarterback, right? The human is the quarterback of a new team that's got AI agents on it, right? And I think the next, like right now, we're just building an agent for this, an agent for that. I think what, the big message that we heard at the NVIDIA conference, Jensen Huang was on the main stage talking about, we all have digital teammates now. We have AI teammates, autonomous agents that are going to become more autonomous and execute complete tasks for us. But the next phase is agents working together. So I think that's going to be another big wave of innovation. And what's becoming very apparent to me, Rob, is documenting your processes is absolutely critical, because you can't have an agent do a good job at something if the process isn't documented. So I think the whole art of documenting everything you're doing is going to become elevated, and revisiting those processes and making sure they're working and seeing how the agent performs and then updating the process document again. I think that's going to become more what we're involved in moving forward than we have been to date in our scrappy startup phase.
Yeah, and I think the key lesson I'm learning for you today is, and then review.
Review. Yeah.
I think that the process documents are critical, but make sure they're working and make sure that they're not giving a mixed message to the AI, which may deliver an unintended consequence because it wasn't clear.
Yeah. AI hallucinates. It does things that are not explainable yet, right? For those of us who are just using like the chat GPTs and other types of Claude and things like that. Enterprise is a whole nother challenge, right? At the enterprise level, how do you make sure, if you have a customer support agent working directly with a customer, how do you make sure it's not giving inaccurate answers or hallucinating or providing unexplainable solutions, right? So I think at that level, it's a whole nother ballgame.
Absolutely. And I'll have one more just fun question to ask you. So there's a lot of new founders out there, new AI first founders of building out companies from scratch. So not necessarily 0 to 1, but it's really 0 to 0.1. What is the skill set of the first marketing hire? What skills are, with all these AI tools at their disposal, what do you think for a brand new company that's still trying to figure out product market fit, maybe has a couple of early customers and is ready to bring on a marketing expert of some sort? What is the most important skill across the menu of disciplines that exist across marketing? What do you think that founder should prioritize? Because there's a lot of opinions there. I'm curious of your thought.
So I'll throw my opinion in. I truly believe it's product marketing. In the early days, you're trying to figure out, who is my buyer? What is the pain that they're experiencing? And what would help them solve their pain? And are we building that? And so really being able to connect the dots, a product market fit, having a strong product marketer can really help you figure that out. And then once you have that positioning and you have the messaging and you've got the target audience understood, the rest is much easier, right? Building a demand gen program based on, here's our target companies, here's our target titles, where are they? Go find them, right? What webinars, what digital sites are they consuming? The whole process of social media posting, content generation, creative, public relations, analyst relations, all of that becomes easier when you have that critical piece of, what's the problem and how do we uniquely solve it? How are we differentiated in the market? Who's our buyer? What are the accounts we're going after and why, right? If you can get that, everything else becomes easier. I've been in situations where a company doesn't have a good product marketing. You can invest in the best demand gen person, the best media relations person, the best agency. Message doesn't land. All of that is wasted money. So that's my opinion.
Of course, I'll have to agree with you there. And you've heard it here, folks. This is the answer. No more questions. But I've often heard and found, and I've heard it directly, where, well, we don't need product marketing because our founder or our CEO does the positioning. My experience is, if they come from a product or an engineering background, where did those skills come from? Maybe they are great, but are they really, as their role as a CEO, do they really have the time to do the current iterative market research and voice of customer and whatnot to know if what they are saying is really sticking? So have you come across that the founder gets it better than anyone else?
I'm a big fan of show me the money.
Mm-hmm.
How good are they? How fast is their growth? How much revenue are they bringing in the door with their product marketing body of work that they've produced, right? So to me, if they're killing it, then yeah, maybe they should own it. Maybe that's a good investment of their time in the beginning, before they're ready to hand that off to another person. But I think it's very rare, right? A founder CEO has a lot of responsibilities across the business, cross-functionally. So do they really have the dedicated time, effort, and skill set? It's pretty rare. Most founders, from my experience, have that engineering background. They're great at building product. They're great at working directly with customers to build a product and get product feedback. but that product marketing skill set is usually not there, from my experience again.
Same here. And I think, but the positioning's fine. Demand gen's not bringing in the leads.
Another great example is like the chief technology officer. Like, how would product marketing even know how to position and message this product? Because I'm a chief technology officer. I'm going to rewrite everything on the website and you'll see the money just come rolling in, right? And so they put all the technical details and features and functions and just a laundry list of capabilities on the website. And it's like, well, look at that. Everything has dropped in terms of performance. So there's a lot of, I think, assumptions that they know. Some technical leaders know best because it's a technical sale. But I think quickly you'd see that it's not always the case. And the way to prove it out again is with revenue.
Show me the money. I think that's a great place to end it because that's what we're all here for. Marketing is here to help drive revenue.
That's right.
So Jakki, thank you so much. I really enjoyed having you here today.
It was great speaking with you, Rob. Thanks.